Social media moves quickly and is unpredictable, so proper planning is important. Brands and marketers need to not only push messages out, but to have a plan to deal with the messages coming in as well, right? We talked about social being that two-way conversation, and that comes into play here. This is what makes social media such a great marketing channel, but it's also the center of the challenge for marketers. Let's look at the planning process so that we'll have a great foundation for success in the social sphere. We'll use the texts example of a plan. There are, of course, variations on this, and you should use whatever works best for your brand. But here's an example. First, we want to get buy-in. Social media is often seen as free for advertisers and brands. However, there is definitely a resource investment in the form of time and effort, even if you're not paying for media space per se. So you need to make sure that you have approval and the proper resources to make the foray into this space. There are various stakeholders, both inside and outside the company, that will need to buy into your social media strategy. Make sure you have that buy-in before you begin so that you can staff it properly so that you have the proper resources available. Okay? Next, listen and understand the landscape. We talked a little bit about this in terms of insights and analytics, that social is a great listening tool. Well, here's where this comes into play. The first thing you need to do in order to understand the whole social landscape is to listen. What is being said about your brand? What is being said about your competitors? Where are people going to discuss sort of your brand category? The whole of the social media landscape is broader than the sites that you use personally. So it's important to think about the landscape very, very broadly. So just because you use Facebook and don't use Twitter maybe doesn't mean that other people aren't. You know, Twitter is a huge social network. So think about that whole landscape and investigate what people are saying in different places. Next, you want to analyze that information. Now it's time to think critically about social media and what it means for your brand in terms of the broader marketing and business goals. You should also likely look at this locally as well as globally, particularly if you're part of a global company. According to the text, your outcomes here should include a list of social channels and platforms that your brand should be in. This is based on who your customers are, where they interact, and where they expect to interact with you. We'll look at non-official groups or communities that already exist, which may have been created by fans. You'll have an overview of the existing conversation, so the volume, the frequency, the brand sentiment, as well as any content or conversation themes that are occurring. You'll have an overview of what your competitors are doing in this space. That's important in any channel, and it's still important here in social. And a list of potential brand evangelists and influencers in your industry. We talked about marketing to the content creators. So if there are influencers or brand evangelists out there that you can get to talk about your brand, then that's great. As with any marketing channel, you have to set clear objectives for your social media plan. So what are your desired outcomes? You want to make sure that the objectives are tangible and measurable. You want to establish your key performance indicators, your KPIs. We really need KPIs for every marketing channel, both traditional and digital. So you still need them here in social. So maybe your objectives include the number of fans or followers you have, the amount of engagement, likes, shares, etc. that you're getting, content uploaded by users. I mean, whatever your outcome is, you need to be measuring against that. And think about your broader business goals and what specific activities will help achieve those. Okay, so we've got our goals. Now we need to create an action plan or a social media plan to achieve those. You have to determine who will be on the social media team, who will be responsible for creating, responding to, and otherwise monitoring the social media activity. What role will each person have? You should decide which channels you will use, as you would with any other channel or media plan, and then determine the tactics and schedule for each of those channels. While social media needs to be quite immediate and authentic, you should establish guidelines for responding to posts, comments, and the like, and the timing for those responses. A lot goes into this quote unquote free digital channel, so you have to make sure that you're prepared. Now it's time to implement on that plan. As the text says, this is the fun part. It's time to kick off your plans and put all that research and thought into action. So set up your platforms according to the guidelines they specify, alert the stakeholders that you're starting your engagement plans, and make sure you have your tracking in place. That tracking is really important. It's one of the great things about digital and about social. Continue to monitor for mentions of your organization and responses to your messages, because you want to make sure that you're responding as you need to. And keep to your general plan, but you have to be prepared to adapt, right? That is the key to social, is that the users and your consumers are controlling the conversation. So you have to be adaptable. Then, of course, as with any of our step-by-step guides that we've gone over in this course, you've got your track, analyze, and optimize. As with all digital channels, it's important to track your activity, analyze it, and optimize it. You'll want to look at your KPIs and how you're tracking toward them, as well as brand sentiment in the spaces in which you're engaging. You keep at it. Having authentic conversations with your users can really pay off.